What's going on, everyone? We've got another huge story to unpack today, and this Ryan Clark situation continues to gain momentum, with more questions being raised every single hour. Now, we also have to bring Cam Newton into the conversation because his name has started trending in this debate as more people turn their attention towards Stephen A. Smith and the role he may have played behind the scenes. According to several voices within the sports media space, Stephen A. had enough influence and connections to potentially step in and impact how everything played out. I've got my own thoughts on that situation, but for now, we're focusing on what others are saying and the claims being made. They believe Stephen A. had the ability to make a difference, but chose not to use the power that many people believe he holds, leading some to question if there was more happening behind closed doors. You might remember that Stephen A. and Ryan Clark have had their own moments of tension in the past over a very public disagreement. Then things became even more complicated when Stephen A. went after Cam Newton for giving Jason Whitlock a platform on his show. However, Stephen A. has made it clear that those situations had nothing to do with what happened with Ryan Clark, and based on what has been reported, ESPN's decision appeared to be moving in this direction before any of those controversies happened. But that hasn't stopped the rumors, the theories, and the non-stop debate surrounding this story, and you won't believe how many people are now questioning what really went down. So let's break down the entire situation and uncover why this controversy has turned into one of the biggest conversations in sports media right now.
Thought what my feelings were? Yes, I was. And of course I said, we have to keep him. But I don't get to make those decisions. And I don't get to ignore the fiscal and financial circumstances and ultimate ramifications that come with the job. That's for the dudes way above me and the ladies.
When you hear certain things, it was like, dang, that's messed up how they did Ryan. Hold on real quick. Hold on real quick. Hey, you could go with it too. They're like, damn! You have to make light of something, because for me, if this isn't a way for all athletes and even content creators to learn one important rule of the times that we live in right now. Mm-hmm. If you don't own your own platform, you're going to get overlooked, bypassed, and be extinct just like dinosaurs.
Ryan has no issue with Stephen A. Smith, so I, by proxy, will have no issue with Stephen A. Smith, but Stephen A. Smith could have stopped this. And that's what's weird to me about seeing this apology is, Stephen A., you both have enough power to go to the executives and say, hey, yo, I don't want him to get fired. And B, you have enough power and fiscal responsibility and freedom to say, hey, yo, I will do whatever is in my power to make sure they don't stop this. And so again, everybody different, but I'm by no stretch of the imagination have the power Stephen A. Smith had. But at a previous network, on a previous show, there was a dude in a contract dispute that I was trying to get on the show. Dude wanted $25K more. I was like, okay, I'm making $800, $825, $850 over the course of year by year, right? That's what I'm making. And so I'm like, no, hold on. I'm like, take 25 away from me and give it to him. Because if he's on the show will be better. Eventually my contract will be up and we'll all make more money. So what do I need this extra 25 for? Just give, if he's at 375 and he wants 400, and 400 is his sticking point. Hey, Acho, I need 400 to come on this show. What the hell I need the extra 25 for? You take the 25 and you come on the show. The show's gonna grow. He ended up coming on the show. We had record-setting numbers. That show had never done as well as it had ever done since we had been on the show. Yeah. We all get new contracts and everybody got more money.
One moment from that conversation really grabbed everyone's attention because Jason Whitlock crossed into some very controversial territory, while Cam Newton mostly stayed quiet and allowed the comments to sit there without much resistance. The biggest reaction came when Whitlock claimed Stephen A. Smith was gay simply because he was spotted playing solitaire during an NBA event. That clip immediately went viral, but what surprised a lot of people was the lack of any real challenge or pushback while it was happening. Rob Parker later admitted that this was the comment that stood out to him the most, because from his perspective, the accusation had absolutely nothing to do with the actual discussion. He questioned how a remark like that could make it onto such a massive platform without anyone stopping the conversation and addressing it. Parker also explained that although he believes Stephen A. when he says he doesn't have the authority to decide who gets hired or fired at ESPN, he personally would have struggled to continue a working relationship with Cam Newton after watching that interview unfold. After that, Parker brought the discussion back to Ryan Clark and raised the possibility that maybe Stephen A. didn't use whatever behind-the-scenes influence people believe he has to support either Ryan Clark or Cam Newton. He pointed out that Stephen A. talked extensively about Ryan Clark's exit, but many viewers also noticed that Cam Newton was released from ESPN on that exact same day. According to Parker, the bigger issue wasn't simply the decision itself, but how Ryan Clark's departure became a much larger public controversy compared to Cam's situation. Personally, I don't buy into the idea that Stephen A. secretly controlled everything behind the scenes, especially considering ESPN had already been making widespread cuts throughout the company. At the end of the day, networks are businesses, and while Stephen A. obviously wants ESPN to succeed, the final decisions are made by the executives sitting at the top. The fascinating part is that both Ryan Clark and Cam Newton had already created successful brands outside of ESPN, which puts them in a position that many former network personalities never reach. Sometimes leaving a major platform can actually become the moment that pushes creators to fully focus on something they truly own. That's why this story goes beyond just another ESPN departure. It shows why building your personal audience is one of the most valuable assets anyone in media can have. You won't believe how often this same lesson continues appearing across today's changing media world. Meanwhile, the conversation took another unexpected turn when reports revealed that ESPN had secured a new contract extension with Tim Tebow, despite the company's ongoing layoffs. Tebow remains an important figure in ESPN's college football coverage, especially with SEC programming, making him a major part of their plans heading into another season. Network executives highlighted his experience, reputation, and strong connection with college football fans, although they chose not to reveal the financial details of the deal. At the same time, ESPN remained relatively quiet about Ryan Clark's departure, which naturally caused more speculation among fans and media observers. With college football season approaching, keeping one of their recognizable personalities makes sense from a business perspective, but the timing definitely made people pay closer attention. What makes Ryan Clark's situation even more interesting is that ESPN wasn't only benefiting from his analysis, they were also benefiting from the audience he built through the pivot. That's something more creators are starting to understand, because traditional media companies often gain access to communities that independent personalities spent years developing. Pat McAfee is the perfect example because he continues owning his YouTube presence while partnering with ESPN through a licensing agreement instead of handing over complete control. The network gets access to the show, but the relationship with the audience still belongs to the creator. And in today's media world, that type of ownership can become a massive advantage.
We've already seen Ryan Clark continue building his brand beyond ESPN, including projects involving Michael Vick and HBCU football coverage connected to the pivot. That proves leaving a major network doesn't automatically mean the opportunities disappear, which is exactly why maintaining strong relationships matters. The smartest creators understand that partnerships should create growth without becoming a complete dependency. If you spend years building content for another company while neglecting your own platform, you could eventually lose the very audience that made you valuable in the first place. That's the challenge every modern creator has to recognize. Looking ahead, the pivot has a real chance to become much bigger than simply a podcast famous for viral interviews and emotional conversations. Imagine expanding into full football coverage, basketball discussions, and year-round sports content that reaches beyond one specific category. That's how independent platforms transform into complete media companies, and we've already watched other creators successfully build that type of ecosystem. Once a brand reaches that level, Major networks will always want to partner because they're chasing the audience and credibility that creators have already earned. The real key is continuing to grow your own platform so every partnership adds value without becoming something you can't live without.